How did Emil Blonsky, one of the ever-loving Hulk's most horrifying gamma-irradiated foes, find himself in the middle of a magical caper involving Mephisto? Well, let's hop into the pages of Bring On the Bad Guys Abomination issue number 1 and find out together, shall we? So then, as we join this prequel to the bigger Bring On the Bad Guys series, we're in Wakanda. We see a professor and his young students hard at work on an archaeological dig. They may not have found anything interesting, but across the way it seems that someone has managed to uncover something fairly amazing, an old civilization. Even by Wakandan standards, unfortunately for them, the only thing that's around the dig site right now is dead bodies and a well that calls out in a sweet voice for any listening to venture down below. I've seen it, I know where this ends, no thank you. Now, you don't need me to tell you that day the professor and his students all ended up going missing, and even though this is a big problem, it's not such a big problem that the people of Wakanda need to run it all the way up the chain of command to the royal family. In fact, I do believe Black Panther is technically exiled at this point, as he sometimes is every so often, so it looks like solving this problem falls to a young junior analyst named Akio who regularly works with the Dora Milaje. This is her first big solo gig and she wants to impress right out of the gate, so what's her outside-the-box plan? Well, why not recruit Emil Blonsky, the Abomination, into solving the Wakandans' problems for them in exchange for leniency on any crimes he may have committed here and a return to his native Croatia. Now, Emil's not dumb despite being a big hulking monster. He knows that this mission is going to be dangerous. After all, why would they send him? Wakanda has their own spies and hired killers. So this surely must be a super problem spiraling out of control, and indeed it is. We learned that the professor and his students were just the first to go missing around the well. After that, it was the nearby villagers, and eventually members of the Dora Milaje themselves, forcing the hand of all of those in charge. Blonsky also says he doesn't much trust the Wakandans. There's a good chance that he'll do their dirty work, and they'll still probably throw him back in a deep dark hole anyway. The young analyst says, yeah, you know what, that's usually how these things would go. You might be a bad guy, but I promise I'm a good guy, so all you gotta do is help me and I'll be good to my word. It's while getting airdropped into the ruins, Blonsky begins to think that all of this isn't lining up. Why would they send a young junior analyst on her first job to do something so important? And furthermore, why would they even sign off on using a monster like him? These questions will have to wait though, as the Abomination manages to get to the bottom of that well, only to find that inside everything has become a body horror nightmare. All of those missing people are alive. Well, alive in only a technical sense of the world. They've become twisted plant creatures, all turned to the will of an ancient dark sorcerer whose soul has been stuck in this well for millennia. In fact, he's actually the great-grandson of the Wakandan magic user who helped create the Soul Forge all the way back in the pages of Bring On the Bad Guys Doom. I had actually completely forgotten that character had gotten a name, so the little factoid box there only left me more confused. As it turns out, this sorcerer wasn't always a bad guy. As he puts it, he was actually fair and even-handed during his day. It was only when one of his rivals started spreading rumors about him did the tide turn. His own people turned against him, so much to the point that when his enemies infiltrated the village one night to drown him in a well, they all stood by and did nothing. So understandably, his soul is pretty damn pissed, and is now vowing to gain revenge on both the descendants of those who killed him and those who stood by and did nothing. So, you know, pretty long list. The funny part is that while the Abomination is beating this dude's ass, he admits that he is not totally unsympathetic to his plight. Hey man, been there, done that, gotten plenty of raw deals. But somehow, someway, I'm still here, still involved, and still doing all the same dirt. He then proceeds to royally crush this dude's head like he was a ripe watermelon. Well, geez, I guess he wasn't really that sympathetic after all, was he? With the sorcerer dead for real this time, all of the people who were kidnapped return to their normal selves. However, Blonsky goes out of his way to actively not save them, if only to once again reestablish his villainous street cred. But why exactly is any of this actually happening? Well, Blonsky explains this to Akio when he sees her again, that he had actually secretly puppeteered all of these events from the very beginning, getting thrown in jail, getting people to dig up the old haunted well, and even getting Akio assigned to this project. Why, you might be wondering? Well, it seems that she too is actually a descendant of the one who helped create the Soul Forge, meaning that if Abomination wants to square his deal with Mephisto, he is going to need to capture her soul in one of those soul daggers. daggers. Which is exactly what he does, and again, gotta help you if you just picked up this seeming one-shot because you're a fan of the Abomination. All this soul dagger stuff would probably throw you for a loop. And yeah, that's kind of where this issue ends up coming to a close as Abomination takes his prize and goes off to meet Sister Sorrow. And so that was Bring on the Bad Guys Abomination issue number 1, everybody. And overall, if you couldn't tell, I wasn't exactly feeling this one. Oh, I wouldn't call it like bad, but it's certainly the weakest we've gotten in the series so far. Again, I wasn't expecting Philip Kennedy Johnson to work some sort of miracle with Abomination in a single one-shot, and to his credit, he does try to make him seem a little bit deeper by reminding us of Blonsky's early years as a spy and actually allowing him to use his brain for once in this story instead of his brawn. It's just unfortunate that none of it really ends up coming together. Abomination just isn't that deep or interesting a character in this story, and Akio is basically introduced solely to be sacrificed. Also, once you come to the realization, like I did pretty early on, when you figure that this story is a prequel to what we saw in the Doom book, you pretty much know how everything is gonna end, which means all the drama is gone. The pacing and structure of Bring on the Bad Guys 2 also continues to do my head in. The Soul Daggers and the Soul Forge and Mephisto tie all of these things together, and yet also, everything after the first one is kind of treated like its own standalone, but it can't possibly stand alone because you need these threads to tie them together, especially when all of these stories are jumping around in time the way they do. That Green Goblin story took place super early in his career, that Doctor Doom story took place seemingly in modern era, and this Abomination story took place before all of that. Again, it's just so weirdly put together. To its credit though, the art is nice, and the end of this book did promise that Philip Kennedy Johnson is going to work in this version of the Abomination into his own current Hulk run, so that's certainly something. Overall though, I think I can only really give this one a 6 out of 10. Not the worst, a little better than average, but I certainly hope the next installment can put this series back on track. I was really enjoying it when it started, but now I hate to say my interest is really starting to wane. Hey there everyone, it's your pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing my face right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, and I'll always be grateful for that. Retention helps in this crazy YouTube game, and so does becoming a patron. If you head on down to the description, you can find a link to my Patreon page. Recently just redid all the tiers, a lot of cool stuff offering up there, exclusive commentaries, exclusive polls, behind the scenes concept art for Capes and Quest. That's the brand new D&D show I've started soon. Never been a better time to become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month and help the channel grow, and help me continue to deliver content like what you just saw. So I want to thank you all, and I will see you again next time. Bye bye.